Good morning. I'm going to pull a few quick cards, but I did just want to pass along some messages as well. This is interesting because I did a pick a card reading the other day, and pile 3 had a little bit more information involved with it, and I feel as if pile 3 was something of a collective message because I did have someone reach out to get more information on it, like I suggested, if that pile resonated with you. But then I've continued to kind of channel messages for pile 3, and so I'm just turning it into a collective batch of messages. So about the body, okay, and this ties into something that happened to me. My lighter's done. That's too bad. Okay. Something that happened to me when I was walking yesterday. I was walking and I was thinking about the landscape. There are aspects of the landscape where I live, where I walk, that are not beautiful. They're crumbly and dirty. I think that's the case in any city environment, but definitely Pittsburgh. And I was thinking about how happy I was, or at least peaceful. I'm always peaceful when I have time to go out and walk and kind of ground myself, come back to myself. I do a lot of talking to myself, processing, but also just, being in the moment, because as I've mentioned before, I have a harder time doing, unless it's like a full meditative thing where I'm lying down, I have a hard time doing seated still meditations. I typically like to meditate and try to witness the quality of my mind and let the thoughts float through if I'm moving. Anything active, really. It's easier to do for me. So I was doing that, and then I became aware of the contrast. I was like, I feel like I've got like rainbows and sunshines and ideas and inspiration and all these things coming to my mind, and I'm like gazing upon this like trash-filled hill, like glowing, like, look at the nature. My point in sharing all of this is that it dawned on me in that moment that there's nothing about like that hillside that's permanent. A lot of people look at a hillside covered in garbage and it feels kind of hard to fix, because it's just one of billions out there. In fact, there are places around the city where I've dropped pins because I'm like, there's just simply too much garbage on that hillside. So if I'm driving, which I do a lot for work, and I see a particularly filthy hillside, I'll like drop a pin in my Maps app because I'm like, one day when I have the free time, I'll come back and I'll pick up all this trash. Something I started doing during the pandemic. I would just pick up garbage, mostly around my apartment. There's plenty of it, and the lovely people who pass by and they finish their cigarettes or their fast food and they just chuck it out the window. Why do people do that? How disconnected from an interconnected way of life can you be? That's kind of an oxymoron. You're either disconnected or you're connected. So how disconnected can you be? Mother Nature is not our garbage can, but thinking about how even that hillside, even the myriad hillside, problem, not just hillsides, right? The oceans, the environment, trash. It was 333 when I looked up. There are so many things, or we could take it to the physical body or the things in our lives. A lot of things feel hard to fix, immovable, unchangeable, things that have a known past, a history, or things that we can easily tell, or there's a high likelihood of how the future is going to go. Those feel locked in the train car that I always talk about. I talk about the train car in a few different ways. I talk about it as being like divine timing and we're locked in. You can't switch the track. But I also talk about it as like you migrate your vibration because you won't ever be able to access a split in the track where you have a new choice to go on a different timeline if you don't start to fuel your train car with a different kind of thought than the stuff that has led to your current manifestation, and with a different kind of thought, a different kind of feeling, and with a different kind of feeling, a different kind of action and quality of self and mind, and then a different experience if it's maintained. So the body, I was looking at the hillside, I was walking, I was thinking about how the body is so much more miraculously capable of regeneration and healing than people think that it is. Our whole system of treating the body, as I've spoken before, is just like super invasive and And when I talk about invasive, I mean chemically invasive, physically invasive. And maybe one time I'll talk about this. I've had really horrible situations that have created PTSD for me this is not one time, not two times. This is a few different times, unfortunately, at the gynecologist. Mistakes that have been made resulting in like unnecessary things for me, pain, bad bedside manner, just like all these different things, to the point where if I need to go to an appointment and I have to put my feet up in stirrups and open my legs and be examined, I will, and I let them know before, because I'm like, this is how it is. I'm sorry. I can't do that without fully bawling. It's like a panic attack, unfortunately. That's just an example of many different things. I mean, I know there's a lot of really gifted, really skilled surgeons and doctors and practitioners out there. But even the most gifted among them is still trained to do what it is that we culturally, societally, scientifically have access to do. And something else that I was thinking about after watching that video by Ella Ringrose, she was talking about light workers, starseeds, people who are not awakened but are very much that way. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why people find themselves in certain fields or like 9 to 5s. A lot of people do have spiritual or psychic gifts, but if they're unrealized and they're not in any type of group of people who have any context for that type of conversation, then they're just an asset to the team somehow. They have to be. It's hard for a person like that to be around a group of other people and not use their abilities. So I know I'm like casting a really big net here. There's one point that I'm trying to make, so I'll just keep talking through some things. To that point, a lot of those people are going to be waking up and wanting to, and when I say waking up, I just mean that's not something that just happens, right? It's like, I'm maybe it comes on slow where it's like, I'm not happy. You know, there's these different ways that we kind of start to fall out of alignment or notice the unresonant quality of the things in our lives that will eventually, you know, if we're honoring of ourselves and how we feel, they'll cause us to make changes. Those feelings we're kind of keyed into identifying them as like something's wrong. Like, why am I becoming depressed or this or that? It's not that something's wrong. I think Jim Carrey once said, depression is when your soul is shouting at you, I don't want to do this performance anymore. Whatever it is that we've had going on, I'm done with it. And it goes on strike almost. And you're not able to get yourself to function in those previous circumstances. And my hope is that people start to feel, there's one thing with like spiritual knowledge, spiritual wisdom, prophecies, 2024, the likelihood of how certain things are going to start playing out as more and more humans wake up. That's all one thing. Whatever it is, that's over there. Over here is the truth that everything is born out of the present moment, and that's where our power lies when it comes to manifestation. And there's so many different things asking us to not utilize that because there's something else that's more important that we have to do, or there's something else that we have to put our faith and trust in that's more effective, or the way that it needs to be done. This has to do with so many different things, including the body. So back to me walking, seeing the hillside, not the most green, luscious forested hillside by any means, but being like, that's okay. Who knows? In 6 months, this could all be clean. Like, not that that's a necessarily realistic thing unless I go out there and pick it up or someone else does. But it made me think about my body because of my knee pain. I have chronic knee pain. And actually I have a degenerative meniscus condition where the tissues are just decaying, and I have a past with ski racing and a couple injuries that complicate it. And it's not the greatest situation here on the ground, right, on earth, because what I'm told is that my knees are 20 years older than I am, and I experience pain and sensation that should not, and limitation as a result of it, physical limitation, that someone my age should not. And my only option is just doing a bunch of physical therapy to get relief from the pain. And I understand that, but I've been going to physical therapy since I was like 14 or 15 when my knee problems began. So I don't love it, and I'm not the best at it. It's just one more thing that I have to commit to that I don't remember to. And not to mention, it doesn't really fix the problem. Even when I have had good stints of doing all my exercises, it doesn't really fix the problem. But I've been doing this thing, I don't even know how to describe it, almost like a reinforced, like in spiritual sight, if you were to have spiritual sight or clairvoyance, you would be able to envision some type of knee brace made out of glowing light, but they're bright blue. They have a cobalt quality to them because that's the light frequency that I was guided to use in order to alleviate the pain in my knees. And I kind of work this light by sensation through the joints in the knee. It's like a custom, I don't want to call it a prosthesis or anything. For the non-believers, this is just a thought experiment, okay? I'm just thinking in my mind's eye, if that makes it seem more palatable to listen to me describe this. But I think a lot of people will get it, basically. It's medical intuitive, connecting with the flow of energy in that space and adding light and like channeling light in from source, transmuting it into, I don't know if that's the right word. My angels and guides were showing me that I can do this for other people too, which is very cool. And I do it for my dog when he has any type of ailment. If you would please send a prayer for my dog. He has to have some stuff done and has some issues right now, and I love him very much. And I told my friend if everybody in my life who knows me has always been deeply concerned. Like, that thing better not die because she will fall into a pit of darkness. Yes, I will. But such is life. And I know how to get out of pits of darkness. So it's okay. In fact, since you asked, I know exactly how I'm going to cope when my dog passes away. Please, I pray that is a million years from now. I paint a lot of dogs from my art practice. I paint commissions of people's dogs, and I've never painted my own dog because, if I'm being totally honest with you, I don't love painting dogs. It's just what the people want. The people want their dogs on the wall in oil paint. I get it. But it's not my number one subject matter of choice. And so I'm not really interested in, people are like, why not him? He's so handsome. Oh, trust me, I know. I did paint him as the Sphinx one time, but that was something that I ended up repurposing. So I still have a cute little, it's actually a great sketch painting of him, a quick one. After the dog passes away, I will do nothing but paint pictures of him I'm guessing it'll probably take me about 2.5 weeks to just leaky faucet all my tears out, remember all of the times that I've shared with my beautiful dog, and then I will have enough paintings to decorate an event hall, and I will have a party for him. It will be a celebration of life, and everybody who's ever interacted with my dog will be forced to go share their memories of him and speak on his majesty. So anyway, please do send a prayer for him. If you would. And I've been doing different kinds of healing on the dog in order to gauge his comfort and sensitivity. And I'm tracking the size of lipomas actually on his body. And I'm trying to dissolve them. A lot of people are going to say that's crazy, but it's not like I'm doing science lab experience on my dog. I'm transmuting healing light to him and watching him in a state that requires intervention and assistance. So yeah, my guides were showing me yesterday this ability to, say somebody has carpal tunnel or arthritis. I'm definitely somebody who's prone to arthritis and already has issues with my art practice, and I use my hands so much. Not to mention our generation, my generation. Anybody alive today, let's not even think about the younger generation. They're gonna have these adapted thumbs that are like huge for texting. Like, humans are gonna evolve to have strange hands that are like more about the phone. That horrifies me. Please, let's not. Even I get super ache like tension bands where like I can't use my hands as much. So blue light for the knees, but immediately when I talk about that, they show me this golden yellow light. It's almost this ochre. It has this medium strand, but of light quality to it. And it creates this thing that goes around the hands, in order to reinforce them. And I talked a few weeks ago about pressure in the head being really common because there was a lot of solar storms and solar flares and the Schumann resonance was peaking. And imagining like there's a helmet outside of your physical skull that is actually housing the pressure that you feel inside your actual head so that it can alleviate. Me, when I do visualizations like that, it is energy work. I do move the energy because I know how that feels in the subtle space. The more you do it, the more you can feel it. The more you're like, I could always feel it. I just didn't know that that's what I was feeling. And then you feel more about it. And then it keeps evolving, your ability to touch into it and work with it. But if you don't have that ability, or you still need to hone it a little bit and sharpen and heighten the ability to feel it, then if you visualize it and you're not feeling it, feeling the pressure of the head like a steam cooker, being able to release and expand outside of your head, then you may not feel the physical relief that that exercise can provide. But I wanted to just talk about healing in the body and impermanence, because a lot of the times, like say I got a diagnosis or hurt myself or something in life, we're like, oh no, big pinball wedge, everything's different. I'm going this way. Here's my papers. This is the result. Everything. There's another thing that that girl said in her video. I never watched any of her videos before, by the way, but I found it and I watched it and I was like, amen to that, Ella Ringrose. I agree with you. I'm getting the same information. She talks about things that are not going to function anymore, and some of the like problematic stuff, like the porn industry and young people and like addictions and sexual energy and like people's life force energy, which is sexual energy. The whole thing with the industry is that it's asking for people to, this is what people call sexual energy harvesting. They burn right through it. Everybody's lethargic and unwell and sick because, to be honest, tons and tons of people are just sitting around masturbating all day not all day, you get my point. Two things that like excessively, but also attaching that sexual energy to things that contort the perception of what their relationship to their own sexuality is without knowing it. She talked about that, but she also talked about how, excuse me, there are certain things that we've relied on for a super long time. This is why this is going to take some years to break down, a few years to break down. None of that stuff is resonant in a future where we're actually saving the world and becoming a less violent people and honoring a balance of healed feminine and healed masculine polarities within the collective, which inevitably, eventually, when people wake up and they realize that that's not some political stance. Really, if you understand what that is, there's no reason why you wouldn't want it. Because every single person on earth right now has chosen to be here to witness us be in this super weird time. But there's, so a lot of stuff, including that way of just being told and monitored and managed, in terms of our health. Now, this is always like, you just have to put out a disclaimer when you say stuff like this. Go to your appointments, get your medications, don't discontinue any type of care, but know that other kinds of healing are possible and effective and free. Well, within reason. There are people who do what it is that I'm talking about with, in fact, my healer, who I need to go see. I haven't seen her in far too long, but she helped me with something that I was removing. It was something of a memory that I had been holding on to energetically in my body, and I removed it, and then I was able to put basically like bands of blue light, light blue light, like Band-Aids, over that spot, because when you remove a block, when you release something, you have to fill it. And there's an energetic core within whatever the resounding memory. I mean, I'm aware of it. I'm not going to go into it. I carry some type of genetic, inherited block that has learned to manifest in the knees, so that for 2 mothers up, it manifested in her knees, and then in the fetus of the next daughter, it manifested in her knees, and then I was born with it too. And so when it activates within me, there's something about the DNA quality, in order to unwrite it, because it's generational, it's a deeper coding than like something I just came upon myself. It's a ancestral lineage aspect of the physical karma of how we're constituting our bodies. Now with karma, right, sometimes people fail to stay away from, it's just like particle shifting, action, karma, cause and effect. So it's not like there's some deep shameful thing that we've all been carrying and it manifests as a knee blockage. No, it's more so about the fact that when we co-create the existence of humans, we choose to have more babies, right? It's a human impulse, but there's a reason, there's a way that our lives and our minds and even our perceptions of what this process is, reproducing, continuing to put the genes that we carry in our bodies into new bodies and watch them walk through the world with those genes. There's the ability to co-create the lack of continuance with things that have harmed us. I mean, ideally, every generation is clearing out and healing what they inherited that they did not want to continue in their experience and not passing it to their children. But on top of that, recognizing just how much we have the ability to move things out of our bodies, move things out of our lives, move things out of the landscape, like the trash-covered hillsides. I'm not saying that visualizing, like, it's not the same method by any means, but the core principle here that I'm trying to drive home is the fact that a super outdated way of thinking, there's nothing, anything is possible, and if there's anything that you're thinking that is not possible, then just start to imagine, what if it was? Is that my core point? I'm trying to drive home. Because I sound like Bill Nye right now. I don't know. Anything's possible, boy. So you're gonna live till you're 48, got it? It seems like a long enough life. Oh, here's another thing with that message. I was talking women's bodies in particular right now, you might be experiencing like a difference or just a particularly, I don't know what to call it, involved, deep, painful period cycle with the passage of this new moon into the next full moon. Whatever stage of your cycle you're at, you could be like having whatever the symptoms are that you experience the most. If it's PMS and moodiness, or if it's physical achiness and cramps and that type of thing, it could be more exacerbated. And what I'm getting with that is that, I mean, we're moving into Capricorn season after Sagittarius season. Capricorn is the paternal father of the zodiac, but it's also represented in the tarot by the Devil card. What I tend to think is that, like, it's highlighting, there's a deep restabilizing. I mean, the end of the year, right? This really isn't the end of the year. The new year, as far as the zodiac and the astrology goes, is Aries season. It's April 1st. I personally just resonate more with that calendar. So end of year shenanigans aside, yeah, I know we're going into 2024, but I think you'll realize, just in the way of prophecy, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be weird before April 1st, but after April 1st hits, actually right before, I'm not going to go there yet. It's sort of like, I'm feeling a big feminine clearing, basically, and sometimes that can happen through the way that the body needs to purge out of, like, if you think about the womb, a lot of people think about it as the oven where the baby would grow. Yeah, that's true. That is where that happens. But it's a space that is part of the woman's body, and it's active and, alive. It's a living place within the female body, with or without a baby or a fertilized egg at any point. And a lot of women don't understand that. They're not like, how's my womb doing today? Let's check in. We don't do that as much as we do with like, you know, do I have a headache? How's my spine feeling? Do I have indigestion or whatever it is? Going forward, it would behoove a lot of people who possess a physical womb space to check in with it. Are we talking about this more? Because I have a lot to say about it. And of course, again, with the disclaimers, if you have any type of like physical pain or cramping in your abdomen and it's not normal to your period and you couldn't even consider it period cramps that are more painful than usual, then of course, seek out some type of consultation or medical treatment. But it's just a big clearing that needs to happen so that we have a little bit more of a conscious connection and access to this space within the body. And it's affecting a lot of different people, most women, I think, even if you're completely unaware of it, because it's a collective energy for the rebalancing of this, like entering into this Capricorn season. What I talked about the other day is that a lot of men right now too are healing their situations with feminine energy instead of masculine energy, because when we have a world that conditions women to be very masculine out of necessity and like keeping like equality, it's really quite warped that we talk about equality, and a lot of women are blindly pushing this agenda along about feminism or equality, but it's not actually very healthy, and it's born out of like a misconstrued understanding that in order to be seen as valuable at all, we need to meet the performance of what men do. We do different things. Let them keep doing that on that 24-hour hormonal cycle where they have a swell in the middle of the day and then it goes down and then they sleep. That's fine. Women need to start gravitating and migrating to a way of living that is deeply, well, I'm not going to say women should, because I'm in the camp of no birth control. I think birth control is doing pretty horrible things. I don't care what kinds you take. I don't think it's doing good things to the body. My stories from the gynecologist's office have to do with different things around birth control and stuff like that. It's just, ooh. That's one of my worst traits, is that I avoid any, like, don't like it. They mishandled me multiple times. That should never happen. So just like I talked about slowness and honey the other day, the yin and yang, right? The energies of earth. If we don't have anybody, if men are on a 24-hour hormonal cycle, sun up, sun down. The moon with its fullness, women are with that. The men are with the sun, the women are with the moon. And then, of course, if you're doing anything with your gender identity, I'm just talking about your dominant hormonal schedule, okay? So feminine and masculine, I speak of those in terms of energy instead of like true gender. I'm a ally for whatever people want to do when they are of the appropriate age to start doing what it is that they want to do in order to feel like they are their absolute most resonant selves from the outside in, from the inside out. These things, we should have these things match, you know? Everybody has the ability to create the way that they want to experience their body and their physicality while they're on earth. And everybody else should shut up and let those people do that unless it's directly harming you, which it shouldn't. Except for all these arguments around children and the hormonal intervention and stuff. And I do think that there is an aspect, as there is with a lot of things, dark and light, an aspect of trans culture, especially with Gen Z and younger kids, where it's getting, a lot of parents feel like they need to support their child's exploration, but the child's just, email me if you have thoughts about this, because I've grappled with this, because I'm like, I do support anybody doing what it is that they need to do when they're able to do that, but I'm deeply concerned about some of the programming that's like roping a lot of really young people, they're kids who are saying, I want to switch my gender and I want like the therapies and the intervention that requires, and then This isn't, these aren't my stats. It's known that there's a lot of people who end up detransitioning because they made the wrong decision, and that creates trauma and confusion, not to mention undocumented physical challenges that the body has to cope with after that we haven't even really tracked enough through time to understand how they're going to affect people long term. So I don't know. I feel mixed about that, but that was my disclaimer that I am talking about energy and not gender. If, though, all the women are expected to perform on this sun up, sundown thing that men with their testosterone and hormonal levels are more set out, more equipped to do, then who's like holding down the fort, right? I think about kite and anchor again, which is an exercise around the crown chakra going all the way up to the higher dimensions, the root chakra, earthing, rooting into the earth. There are polarities on this plane, this earthly plane, for a reason. They keep things in balance. We don't necessarily understand that. I think a lot of people do, but it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable for the earth, for the collective manifestation. We can see what the impact of this has been, because this has been the way that things have been going. We can't really keep going the way that we're going. There's a lot of forces on earth that want us to. And so because those are stronger and more funded and more broadcasted, we will. Trust me, we will. But we actually can't. It's like I was talking about being a worm in the dark with no eyes, burrowing through the ground. That's kind of like us on this old paradigm. It's going to hit a thing and start to crumble and stuff, which is why I believe that everybody, like the quicker you can sort of start to unplug yourself from all of that, the less jarring it's going to be. There's going to be some pretty big like group upsets when things start to malfunction on a deeper level. With the honey and the slowness, though, it's important that we have like the dichotomy of, I just always come back to groups of people who are all doing different things, but interrelated and like supportive of the other things that the people are doing. So homesteads are great. Yes. Growing food, that's the ideal. But like in the more immediate future, people who have their own things going on that respond to other people's things. And I'm talking about how we spend our time and our work and our labor, because it doesn't mean like, oh, the hormonal schedule. Of course, the women go back to being at home with the young, raising the babies. That's not what I mean. Again, life force, sexual energy, that's creative energy. Both men and women are creative. All humans are, in my opinion. Both men and women have really strong and serious like abilities psychically that are different from one another. So everything that we should be doing, in my opinion, is around stripping down all of the infiltration to allowing that balanced system start to show us what the world could look like. Another thing that I liked about her video is that she was saying, because I've been getting this, I've been feeling this. She was saying, it's not going to do very well. We can only plan 6 months into the future right now. Like I said this in a post the other night. I said, I've been manifesting my life until June. The reason why I do like December is because Capricorn, it's my half birthday, December 22nd. And then I have 6 months until my birthday. And I'm always, first part of the year, well, I don't want to talk about that. I experienced the year in a pretty consistent way. I get a lot done between Decembers and Junes most of the time. June to the rest of it, it's like my holiday. Second half of the year is just the fun part. First part of the year is like, that's not true. The whole calendar has its function. But anyway, I'm gearing up to do a bunch of stuff, and she was talking about how like we're not even able to manifest out because of the fact, she didn't actually say why, but I will, because I see it. What I see is that humanity, as we come around this corner into 2024, if everything is a spiral ascension, I wish I had a twisty. Here, look at this little tree. We're going around and around like we would on a train track, loop-de-loop-de-loop up to the top, because we're coming onto a higher rung of our ascension, like around the corner. We can't see. If we were orbiting on like one of these like lower circles, you'd be able to have a longer, like maybe a year that you could manifest out for. But up here, and again, zooming in, it's not like we're getting to the top. No, it's all a fractal. We keep moving into higher levels of expansion, but this is a big transition in the way that the energy, it's always been this exponential thing that's growing, but now it is like, I hear earth shattering. It's because the physical manifestation, the physically manifested response to all of the changes in the energy is going to rock people to their core. It's going to look crazy on earth as it plays out, okay? But because of separation in both ways too, right? In order to hold the lightest of the light and have the capacity to fully feel and hold love for yourself and therefore others, regardless of imperfections and wrongs, being able to hold that, you have to hold the light and the dark. And that's what's going to start to happen, is the split's going to get bigger and bigger. And so the sooner that people can see that you're just on a sinking ship like Titanic, you know, you can choose not to be on that ship, but people aren't going to know how to do that, and they're going to cling to it. It's going to get a little chaotic. And so this is why, like, back to the sexual energy, the root chakra, the sacral chakra, sexual healing, sexual chakra healing is really important, because that's where your sense of safety comes from. That goes into the second part of why it's such an attack on people to have everything be so sexy, you know, all the time. Like the commercials, everything. And it's like, there's this level of sexiness that is not, it's totally public. Like, I would consider reality to be PG-13, you know, like a movie, right? It's like it's the parents' fault for not keeping their kids inside because the world is explicit or something. I don't think the world used to be like that. It's gotten pretty raunchy. But when we give away all of our sexual energy and then we don't have a firm, it's blocked. If there's no firm foundation, and your root and your sacral chakra are blocked, then you're not going to be able to connect with your creative life force energy. You will feel tired and drained, and you will not feel like you're safe. You might not say that, but it will be hard to summon in abundance that is, you know, the reward for your natural efforts. Like, there's a system that wants to play out within every human life where it's like reciprocity, you know? I'm not going to pretend to know what it is that you want to do with your abilities or what makes you feel good. And a lot of the times we shortchange ourselves by being like, well, that's not profitable. I can't monetize that. Don't speak too soon about things like that. Truly start from the place of what it is that you feel like you're being moved to do, or you feel like you are good at and then you like to do. To be honest, I don't think it matters what you're good at if you don't like to do it. I've done a lot of things in my life because people are like, well, you can't give that up, you're good at it. I'm like, but I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm good at everything. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, that goes back to like, what have you always done? What do you feel obligated to do and pursue? And what do you really want? What do you want to do? What is it that you want to do? Okay, to summarize, TLDR version. Women, be aware of your period. If you do have more discomfort than usual this month, then just know that there is a collective feminine purging happening, and it's so that you can embody more of your healed feminine polarity. It's a really good thing. Being open, another like sub. I guess I'll talk about it later. This one's scatterbrained. I need to go, probably. Yes. I need to leave immediately. Wait. No, I'm good. I lose track of time. Morning readings are not good for me to do because I have a whole day ahead of me and then I'm all scatterbrained. No, I'm actually getting quite good at grounding in and being in like a high vibe space, but staying protected and not feeling like I have to like simmer down after I do this when I'm around people. Getting better at it. Second thing I was going to say is that if you have any like physical ailments or things going on, you need to maybe start to think about how little visualizations of like light or like, who knows, let those be part of your meditations in order to help just give you some of your own power back in the way of whatever it is, pain management or progressive slow healing. You can email me if you have questions. I know I didn't really do a good job of explaining any of this today. My thoughts are going far too fast. I've also been recording things and then not posting them. So I'm like, I kind of want to grab pieces of these messages and bring them back around. But they're too far gone. They're balloons and I let them go and they floated away. All right, current energy is 9 of Cups. 9 of Cups, 9 of Cups. Energy to embrace, 4 of Wands, 4 of Wands. Energy to release, 10 of Cups. Why? This is all beautiful, isn't it? Why is the energy to release? Oh, it's expectations, it's timeline stuff. Okay. So the current energy is the 9 of Cups. 4 of Wands is in the energy to embrace. You know what I'm getting here too is that I think that a lot of people are incredibly good at manifesting and being. People who are single who want partnership are good in some cases, not everybody. Some people are not good at this at all, but some people are good at saying, I know how to love myself and be in my lane and feel good and not feel like I'm lacking anything, but still be open and receptive to like love. There are a lot of people that say that they're doing that, but subconsciously they're still waiting around, putting things off, saying that they won't do certain things until they meet somebody, acting in a way that would communicate vibrationally and energetically to the universe that they're not enough somehow through this subconscious like waiting or trying to control and maneuver, you know, how their life is going to go instead of being embodied and happy. And so what I'm getting is that with current energy, this is a single individual with the Cups and the stability of this kingdom. This is where that vision takes on like a couple or a family style. Clarify from the bottom. Nope, from the top. 3 of Wands. Yeah, it's like we're looking out because I feel pretty good. I'm maybe kind of stable. So where's my happy ending? Where's my rainbow and my love, you know? Looking out for it. What is the hidden energy? I'll shuffle it out. Oh, come on, don't do this to me. Okay, I'm gonna put those to the side. Those are gonna be our advice, and then I'm gonna take these two as hidden. Page of Wands and King of Wands? Well, that doesn't help me at all. Looking out, wondering where the love is. Page of Wands, King of Wands. I'm sorry, this is funny. It's coming through in this funny way because it's like, he's good. He's envisioning, you know, maybe he doesn't have it all figured out, but there's a buoyancy of emotional fulfillment present somehow, thinking about a stable situation. Energy to release, thinking that this is, if this is not here already, that you're never going to get it. That's not true. But then it's like these guys, the reason why I laughed is because it's like they come in to be like, yeah, where is the happy ending? Like he called in for backup and like they've come in to be like watching as well. What did I say for advice? Interesting. High Priestess is here. But so is King of Cups and 7 of Cups. Okay, so this doesn't necessarily have to pertain to love and relationships. You could be partnered happily, and it could pertain to something else, or it could pertain to creative projects of a sort in terms of like feeling fulfilled emotionally, having a kingdom because finally, you know, something that you've been doing as a passion project has turned lucrative, or could be because something that you've been trying to overcome is behind you so that you feel more stable. And maybe whatever it was that you were dealing with, or whatever that you are now dealing with, makes you feel like you want a renewed sense of peace and stability and fulfillment in an existing relationship, or you haven't been in one and you're ready to be in one, or you've been looking for one for a long time and haven't had one, and so you've been focusing on yourself, and now you're wondering again. All of these different things could be true, but like I said before, it could also have to do with just like, you know, creative stability with how we feel about ourselves and kind of new chapters. It could be more abstract than some of the ways that I'm talking about it. And what I'm getting is that because these are all wands, they're all somewhat static, they're all somewhat expectant. Four of Wands, right? The High Priestess is saying it's almost like we're not seeing just how much, like King of Cups with the Seven of Cups being this overwhelm, like not knowing what's real, not knowing what to pick, not knowing, you know, that's because there's two. Seven of Cups is too many. He just has the one, right? When we bring it back to focus on what we know to be true and what we feel, regardless of what it's about. I mean, what are you moved to do? Like, I take intuitive nudges for the silliest things. I listen to my intuition about everything. It's not just like, you know, please, what do I do? No, all throughout the day. I listen to my intuition for things that you would think that aren't even like a decision, because if it comes into my mind, there's a reason. And I know that by now because I'm constantly maneuvering the space-time quilt in a way that, like, I feel like a little, when Mrs. Frizzle makes the kids really small in Magic School Bus and they fly through the bodies because they're like the size of molecules. I feel like I'm doing that on some level every day with the way that I do things, because I'm just kind of like avoiding things that are bad for me and moving towards things that are good for me. And I don't know how or why, except for the fact that I listen to my intuition and it leads me properly. Okay, so there's some type of patience and knowing, but again, with the High Priestess, it's going to come from that feminine quietude and resilience and understanding. Okay. Bottom of the deck is Justice. And if I cut the deck, Queen of Swords. She's very exacting. She's confident, and she's got the reputation of being like the colder queen. Okay. But it's almost like her energy in the King of Cups is a wash, because he's the warmer king. What I'm getting is that to do not let the flashing lights and pretty ponies and moving parts distract you right now. There seems to be a lot of that going on in the collective. It would be the time to come home to this. Do you see? He's looking out. He's looking out the next 6 months, because we simply can't co-create and manifest a timeline and beyond that time frame. And the other thing is that it's not going to look or feel. It never does. It's not going to look or feel like you think it will. So really open yourself up to having things turn in your favor in a way that's better than you could have ever imagined. Are you able to suspend enough disbelief to see that happening? The two flanking him are looking out, right? Backs turned. He's looking straight ahead. This guy, to me, is looking into his own future. Okay? And it's not necessarily about, I've done a lot of work, I'm looking for a kingdom, where's my partner, where's my situation? There's a contentedness within this card that moves away from this. It's almost like he's channeling his High Priestess energy in his ability to be content. Be content and allow things to be as they are without rushing any type of process or trying to exert any type of like, we get even spiritual people on a spiritual journey, our own egos and minds and expectations come up to get us all the time. You can think that you're being very detached and stuff and realize that you might have slipped back into being a little bit more attached to outcomes or how something's going. Okay, what's the biggest advice with this? And then I really, really, really need to go. Seven of Pentacles. It's this and the Seven of Wands. Persevere, show up, do the work. My grandfather always used to say to me, one more for advice, please. Nope. Okay. No. I said no. Seven of Wands, Seven of Pentacles. 14 reduces down to 5, number of change. So yeah, I mean, the advice has been the same, even though it comes out in different kinds of readings every day. High Priestess. she has a slow like honey energy, but she also moves at the speed of light, right? It's like she doesn't have to move in order to have the answer, to know, to be informed. It's it's this feeling that there's almost nothing else to do but show up every day. There's been a lot of beautiful work, and this pile, it represents exhaustion and the work that he's already put in, but it also, there's a stockpile amounting, right? There's something to show for it. Change has occurred. Ground has been covered. Certain things have been let go because he's been sitting here only focusing on this stuff. Whether or not you want to drop things out of your life, if your focus changes, certain things won't be able to stay. Sometimes we think we have to, like, you know, pick and choose what we want to take with us. You simply just have to stay in the present moment and continue to, and again, we have got a parallel with, like, this is what you don't want to do. Don't just sit there and be like, where are my blessings? You're blessed. Just keep moving. You're blessed. Just keep moving. Keep your energy flowing. Keep your, like, you know, they wouldn't be sitting here looking out if they were embodying the energy of being radiantly blessed with everything they wanted. They'd be off enjoying their blessings. So keep on working. Maybe we're not at that point of enjoying the blessings, but at the very least, continuing to move through each day, knowing that that's enough right now, because time's moving. Like I talked about her being, she's got this slowness like honey, but almost like speed of light. It's this paradox again. This energy of just learning how to sit within the discomfort. Sit within the discomfort, right? It's almost like, too, he's looking at her. I see his headpiece as like trying to activate his third eye, trying to be able to see like the high priestess would. He's looking to her to be like, are you sure about this? And she's like, yeah, always have been, always will be. So just one day at a time. It's not a passive turning of the back to all things. There's an action employed with each one of these, whereas the other guys didn't have that. What's the incoming energy? What I'm looking to, what I'm looking to see is if it's going to be something, it's the star. Wish fulfillment. I mean, it goes right back down with our current energy. And I'm not saying like, you know, don't take time to feel this kind of fulfillment and stability if you are coming into a new chapter that feels a little bit more, well, I think what it is that there's been some pretty wonky, like Jupiter's in retrograde as well. Mercury just went into retrograde. Sometimes people, it's like, imagine I'm seeing a calendar and it's like somebody took watercolor paint and just like made it all like dark and murky and like navy blue, and there's like some yellow spots in it. It's kind of a weird thing going on. That's sometimes how it feels when planets do wonky things, and there's nothing, everything else looks normal, but there's just like tea stains on our mood and on the way that we feel. It's like very bodily for me, but it's also very it's fractal, like it's in the quanta because it's the way that the energy moves through space, and then you can see the way that the energy the way that impacts people's fields and therefore attitudes, or how they're processing, or their inability to process those shifts in the energy, right? They impact the collective psyche. So I kind of feel like we've had a mini haze lifted in that regard, which might make people feel like they're able to embody a little bit more of a Nine of Cups stasis, or something that feels a little bit cleaner and easier to maneuver. But don't forget that justice is at play. And the best thing to do is don't forget that when you start looking out, even if you're manifesting, sometimes it can give the universe that expectant idea that what you're trying to manifest is waiting energy, and we're not. Even though there's a liminal space around like the retrogrades, like I don't think, if you don't have to make a big move or do a big change or start a big thing by the end of the year, then it's not the best energy to do that. It's energy to continue trying to be in that King of Cups and connect to the peace of the knowing that regardless of what happens, it's going to be okay. That comes from the High Priestess energy, not the King of Wands sitting there looking out being like, well, is it going to be okay? I keep looking for signs that it might. He's affirming that he doesn't see them yet every time he looks. And I was talking with somebody the other day about the fact that our lives fly by when we do repetitive tasks. When you do original things, new things, then you know that time is passing. It doesn't just slip away. You feel it. You experience it because your mind is not doing a redundant thing. Could this work? I would love it if it did. Please. No, it can't. So it won't. Okay, that's it. I don't know if this was a reading. I don't know what I talked about, but I gotta go to work and I hope everybody's great. Bye-bye.